Balak. Vayar Balak ben Tzipor. Is kol asher oseh Yisrael Amori. Balak, the son of Tzipor, had seen all that Yisrael did to the Amorites. So Rashi cites the Midrash. Who were the Amorites? At the end of last week's parsha, we'd read how Sichon Melech Amori, who was a giant, had come out with his nation to attack Klal Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu killed him. Then his father, which was Og, who was pre-Great Flood. He was one of the human beings outside of Noah and his family who survived the Great Flood. He came with his people to attack Klal Yisrael. Moshe killed him. These two giants, they were the protectors of the 7 nations of Canaan. So their protection was no longer there. Balak had seen all that Yisrael had done le'Amori, to the Amorites. These two kings who we relied upon them. Lo amdu b'fneim. They were not able to stand before the Jewish people. Onu alachas kam v'kamo. So we, who are only a small nation, what chance do we have? Lefichoch vayoger Moab. Therefore, the next verse says, Moab was overwhelmed with fear. So over here, the Ramban writes that in terms of nations, relatively speaking, Moab was a newly established nation. Moab was a descendant of Lot. The Canaanite nations, this goes back to Noah's children, to Chum. Moab and Ammon, they were the children of Lot's daughters. That's where these nations emanated. So size-wise, number of people, they were small. So if they were able to defeat these great nations that were ancient nations, what chance do we have? This is how the Ramban explains this. But it's interesting. Actually, who killed Og and Sichon, these two giants, was Moshe. They had seen Asa Sharosa Yisrael Amori. We're talking about physically, Moshe had killed both of them, both giants. It was not similar to the splitting of the sea, which clearly was the hand of Hashem. It was miraculous within the human context how a limited person is able to topple a giant. Gemara tells us in Brachos that Og initially had taken a mountain that was 12 parsa, which is a very large mountain, which was the equivalent of the Jewish camp. Really, it was Yud Beis Mil or Yud Beis Mil, 12 mile by 12 mile. He lifted the mountain and he carried it on his head. And he was going to take this mountain, just drop it on the Klal Yisrael, and just totally annihilate them just with one action. And factually, a miracle happened that God caused that when he was carrying the mountain on his head, he had sent ants to eat around the location which his head was supporting the mountain. And actually, the mountain, his head penetrated the mountain. And the mountain was stuck on his shoulders. And he tried to remove the mountain. God caused that his teeth should grow into the mountain like spikes. And he wasn't able to pull the mountain off his head. He fell, and this is how he died. And this is what David says in Tehillim, Shine Rishon Shibarto. The teeth of the evil you broke. It shouldn't be read Shibarta El Shirivavto. You extended the teeth of the evil, and this is referring to his teeth growing into the mountain like spikes, and he wasn't able to remove it. So it was miraculous. But how did this come about? And regarding Sichon, how Moshe had killed him, it's also described. What's Iskol Asher Osa Yisrael Amori? It should say Iskol Asher Osa Moshe Amori. Why is it Yisrael, what the Jewish people did to Amori? Balak, although he was a pagan, although, as it says, he was a sorcerer, one of the greatest sorcerers in existence, he understood Moshe was only as effective as he was because of who he represented. And God allowed this to take place because he was a representative of the Jewish people of Klal Yisrael. So it's Asa Shir Osa Yisrael Amori. If not for Yisrael, this couldn't be. So now, what are we confronted with? The giant didn't allow them to pass through the land. They came out to attack them. They were toppled. So we, in number, were smaller. What chance do we have? So therefore, he summons Bilam to curse the Jewish people. Now, why did he summon Bilam? For what reason? So the verse says, "Vayoma Moav el Ziknei Midian." Moab, the Moabite, said to the elders of Midian, so the Midrash asks, "Umaro Moav litol eitzim Midian." Why did they seek out a solution for Midian? They felt Midian may know exactly what is the secret of the Jews. And if we're able to understand their secret, then we'll be able to counter them. Why did they go to Midian? Kevon Shiro es Yisrael notzchim shelo kamina golam. They saw the Jewish people being victorious on an unnatural level. Omru manhigun shaleil b'Midian is Gadol. This is the leader of the Jews. Where did he develop? Where did he mature? He matured. He fled from Egypt. He fled to Midian. So we'll go and we'll seek out an understanding of exactly what are his abilities. Nishal man mami doso. How do we evaluate him? How do we evaluate this man? Omru lo in kocho ela b'piv. His power lies in his mouth. Omru, so they said, Aponu noba alei ba'odam shkocha b'piv. We're going to counter Moshe with a person, his power also lies in his mouth, which is Bilam. Bilam had the ability, he was a prophet. Chazal tell us, Lokom Novi b'Moshe, b'Yisrael k'Moshe. There was no greater prophet among Jews as great as Moshe. So what's the inference? Among Jews, but among the nations of the world, there was a prophet who was his equivalent within a certain context. That's Bilam. So we have a person who's seemingly his equivalent. Our power, the power of the non-Jew lies in his physical mind. But anything has relevance to spirituality, which is the mouth, we're going to get his equal, his equivalent. Therefore, they summoned Bilam, and they commissioned him. They're willing to pay anything. This is the background on the story. Factually, Egypt was the most advanced civilization. They enslaved the Jews for 210 years. Moshe comes, reasons with him. Shalach hamivi abduni. He comes as God's agent. Send my people out. Let them serve me. Paro is transient. He's not willing to listen, not willing to submit. We have the Eser Makos. We have the 10 plagues. Egypt is devastated. As a country, it's destroyed, reduced to rubble. Finally, after the 10th plague, the Max Bechoros, they drive us out of the land, but we're going for 3 days. When Paro realizes that we crossed that line, he begins pursuing us with the chariot corps, the Egyptian army, which is the most powerful army in the world. Straight into the Yam Suf. Paro v'chelo yordu v'yam. Paro and his armies, they went down to the ocean, the sea closes. This is the end of Egypt. Egypt is history, no longer exists. All miraculous. All the deities of Egypt were destroyed. God destroyed all the deities of Egypt. It was known a slave, a single person could not escape Egypt. Here, millions of people left Egypt, despite all the reasons why initially they couldn't flee. I mean, God took over. So what is the power of the Jew? God himself. So what is even the consideration? In addition to toppling the giants, in addition to many things, what is even the consideration? That you think you're going to win? How could you win? Impossible. But yet, for some reason, Balak believed that he's able to win. If they could topple giants, don't you think they'll be able to what? To defeat Bilam? But they believe, although they could topple the giants, Bilam, maybe not. We have a chance with Bilam. Why do we have a chance with Bilam? There's a Midrash. The Midrash tells us that although we only see things in a very limited way, and we understand things very limited. Now, what happened after the sea closed on Paro and his armies? This is the ultimate song. He sang the praises of Hashem together with Klal Yisrael, articulating every aspect in detail of what transpired at the time of Kriyas Yamsuf, prior and what happened. Now, what about after the victory, the defeat of Og and Sichon, the two giants? We don't find Klal Yisrael said Shira. So the Midrash tells us that in terms of being formidable enemies, it was more difficult to topple Sichon and Og than Paro and his armies. Same thing we talk about. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers, foot soldiers, cavalry, chariot corps. Power doesn't lie in the physical. It's what's behind the physical. Every nation has an archangel. Based on the dimension of that power, of that angel, that determines the power of the nation. In terms of Sichon and Og, it was more difficult to topple them than topple Egypt. Paro in Egypt, more difficult. And Moshe was concerned. How am I going to defeat them? So Hashem says, you have nothing to worry about. I will topple them from above, and they will fall from below. That's what Hashem said. Meaning, I will topple their archangel, and once their archangel is toppled, and they no longer have that spiritual counterpart any longer, they will perish, and you'll be able to defeat them. Seemingly, after Kriyas Yamsuf, the splitting the sea, Moshe said Shiro with Klal Yisrael. They should have said Shiro after the victory over Sichon and Og. Especially, it was a greater accomplishment. Moshe did not say Shiro. So who said Shiro? So the Medrash says David HaMelech. He said Shiro. He said the song, the praises, for the praises that Moshe and Klal Yisrael did not say. Where did he say the praises? In the Hala Godol, David said multiple times, Ki l'olam chasdo. Forever is God's kindness. L'sichon melech hamori ki l'olam chasdo, u'l'og melech haboshem ki l'olam chasdo. What David is referring to in those two statements is referring to the Shira, the song and the praises Moshe and Klal Yisrael should have said, although they didn't. It's not held as a claim against them, but they didn't sing the song then and sing his praises. David, because it was something which was beyond Egypt, it surpassed Egypt, so David said, Shira, to acknowledge the chesed of Hashem. Ki l'olam chasdo, otherwise we couldn't have survived. So we're not talking. So, and Balak understood this. So Moshe is able to topple Sichon and Og, which are enemies at a level which are beyond Egypt and Paro. Do you think Bilam, even though we say his powers with his mouth, do you think you're going to be able to stop Klal Yisrael from coming in? You think Bilam is going to be effective regarding his curse? How do we understand this? If Sichon could be toppled, you don't think Bilam, individual, say he has power of his mouth. He's able to curse. Therefore what? Why should he really be so reliant on that reality? Now, we read at the end of last week's parsha regarding the destruction of Sichon, the Amorites. After they destroyed Sichon, Vayikach Yisrael, it's called Orem Eiler. It says the Jewish people, they took all the cities. Vayeshiv Yisrael b'chol Orei HaMori, and they settled in all the cities of the Amorites. This is on the Transjordan side. B'Cheshbon or b'chol b'Noseo. In Cheshbon, which was the capital city, and all the outlying communities around Cheshbon. Now, what's Cheshbon? Ki Cheshbon ir Sichon. Cheshbon was the city of Sichon. He's the king, the giant. Melech HaMori, the king of the Amorites. He will nilcham b'melech Moav Harishon. And how did he come upon this territory and to have Cheshbon? He fought against the king of Moav, Harishon, the first king. Vayikach has kol artzum yodo Arnon. And he captured his land until Arnon. So originally, what was Cheshbon? It was Moabite territory. Sichon conquered it, and now it's Amorite territory. So Rashi explains, Hu nilcham. Lom hutzach likosei. What do we have to give the background information? That it was conquered, originally it was Moabite territory, and Sichon had captured it, and now it's Amorite. Why is it important for us to know this background information? Vishenemar al totzes Moab. We're not permitted to harass the Moabites. We're not permitted to take any of the territory. The Cheshbon Mishel Moab Poisov. So how we're able? God says, the Transjordan side of the Jordan is going to be Jewish territory. That's the Ever Yarden. So how are we supposed to put it? God says you can't take the territory. Kosavonu. So what does the Torah tell us? Shesichon lochamehim. So what does God do? Sichon captures the territory. While Yodo tuarol Yisrael. So how was it purified and purged to be available for us to take? There was this transition. It was transferred from Moabite ownership to Amorite ownership. Now we destroy Sichon. Now we're permitted to take it. So God allowed Sichon to capture it because ultimately it has to become Jewish territory. It was Tira b'Sichon. It was purified, purged as a result of the conquest of Sichon. That's what we need, this background information. Now, how did Sichon capture it? Was it so easy to capture? So next pasuk. Al kein yomru hamoshlim. Therefore the rulers will say, Bo Cheshbon, come to Cheshbon. Understand what exactly Cheshbon is about. Cheshbon is the capital city of the Amorites that was conquered by Sichon. Tibonev Sichon and Ir Sichon. It was built, it was secured, the city of Sichon. How did this happen? Bo Cheshbon. Shlohoi Sichon Yochel Kavsha. Initially, Sichon couldn't capture it. It was impregnable. It was not conquerable. Even Sichon, the great giant, who was more powerful than Paro v'Chelo. Paro and all his armies and his chariot corps. V'holach v'soches Bilam l'kolo. How did he capture it? He had to commission Bilam. So through his physical might or whatever he represented, it wasn't sufficient to capture Cheshbon. How was he able to capture it? He went and he commissioned and hired Bilam l'kololo to curse them. And this is what, in this week's reading, what Balak says, we know what you bless is blessed and what you curse is cursed. Because we were beneficiaries. Sichon was a beneficiary of that curse. We want to commission you to represent us to curse the Jewish people. Now, what's this all about? The question is, Sichon, as we said, the level of miracle that was needed for Moshe to defeat Sichon and Og was beyond what was needed to defeat the Egyptians. So if they were so powerful, why did God have to have it evolve that Bilam had to be commissioned to curse the Moabites, the Sichon, to capture the territory? He could have had Sichon, through his own physical might and his representation of impurity, to capture it. But why did Hashem have to say, Sichon's not sufficient? Even Sichon needs Bilam. Why? Why? Evidently, it's for a reason. What reason? Let's understand that, what the reason is. Now, we said, Lokam Nov Yisro Moshe. There was no greater prophet among the Jews in the history, in the past or the future, as great as Moshe. Be Israel, but among nations of the world, we have Bilam. Now, if you look at Bilam and you look at Moshe, if Bilam was such a great prophet, how did the man, what was his persona? His outward persona. Probably radiated holiness. God communicated with him. He has a dimension of prophecy. No other prophet among the nations of the world was ever had prophesied at this level. You think you see a holy man? It says in Pirkei Avos, when we pit the students of Moshe to the students of Bilam, who are the students of Talmidav Shel Avram Avinu? Talmidav Shel Avram Avinu and Talmidav Shel Bilam. We pit the students of Avram versus the students of Bilam. we speak about the Talmidim Avraham Avinu, Ruach Shvelo, right? Humble spirit, no interested in material. The students of Bilam, Ruach Gevoa, Nefesh Rechova, insatiable need for material, everything corrupt, everything perverted, everything depraved. One is the antithesis of the other. There's a famous question which is asked. If we want to pit Bilam against Avraham Avinu, what do we have to speak about? And first we speak about who is Avram and who is Bilam. Then we speak about the Talmidim, the students. Let's talk about Avram was humble. He had no interest in material. And the other was pompous, egocentric, self-centered, insatiable need for material. What do we talk about Talmidim, the students? So the answer that's given, if you look at Bilam, you look at Avraham Avinu, you saw two holy people. How do you really know the true nature of the essence of what each of these individuals are? When you look at the fruits that they bear, then you understand what they are. Avraham, what did he produce? Purity, holiness, humility, refinement. What did Bilam produce? Depraved people, corrupted people, pompous people. So again, by looking at them, you don't see the truth. It's only to see the havoc that he wreaks and the destruction he brings about, then you understand who he is. Bilam, you'd say, is a walking Chil Hashem. How could he be a man of God? The man commits bestiality. The man has an unlimited need for wealth. A man who's conceited beyond anybody's imagination what conceit is. This is holiness. This is a man God communicates with. Why? There's a reason, which we'll discuss. It's literally a walking desecration of God's name. How does God associate with this? But he did. But always at the end of the day, everything has a reason, has a purpose. Now, Bilam, we asked the question. Sichon, as I said, to bring about his defeat, what was needed was more than what was needed to bring about the downfall of Egypt. Paro v'chelo. The 10 Makos, the splitting of the sea, everything. Sichon, we needed more than that for Sichon and Og, the two giants. So why did Hashem allow Sichon, through his own physical might, capture Cheshbon? Why? Because God wanted that Bilam should be, his curse should be the one. It's only through his curse he was able to capture. Why? Because as a result of that, now when Sichon and Og are toppled, Balak now is terrified. So now he says, all hope is lost. If they could topple Sichon and Og, what's our hope? We have one last hope. Because even Og is powerful, Sichon as powerful as he was, he couldn't capture Cheshbon. He had to come on to the what? To the power of curse of Bilam. So there's still hope. So God did not allow Sichon to capture Cheshbon through his own physical strength, to cause Balak to believe that Bilam is more lethal than Sichon. So now he commissions him. And what's the end of the story? Horgu Bilam b'chorev. He goes and perpetrates, he breaches the fence of the world. The story of Beno Smo, of Baal Peor. Depravedness. Tens of thousands of people die in a plague. The princess of Midian is killed by Pinchas, together with the prince of this tribe of Shimon. At the end of the day, what does it show? Who is Bilam? He's a man, has no relevance to holiness. So the end result is what? Is Kiddush Hashem. As we say, Machlokas l'shem shemayim remains. If people disagree and it's purely for the sake of God, and what's that? That's Machlok Shamay v'Hillel. That's l'shem shemayim. Elu ve'el divrei l'kim chayim, as the Gemara tells us. Both were interested in wanting the truth. What is Korach Vadoso? That's Machlok Shlo L'Shem Shemayim. It was purely for their own egos, to advance their own selves. Jealousy, envy. So what happened? It was swallowed up by the earth. Machlok Shlo L'Shem Shemayim was Kayim. It doesn't last. It doesn't prevail. It ends. This man will not last. But he seems to be holy. The end of the story will reveal who he is. So the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't allow Sichon to capture Cheshbon through his own physical might, because Balak had to believe that despite the fact that these giants were toppled, there's still hope. Bilam. We have a man who's paralyzed in his mouth who could counter Moshe. But at the end of the day, there's Moshe and there's Bilam. We're talking worlds apart is not enough of a difference. Who's Moshe? He's so holy and spiritualized that when God speaks, he speaks through the throat of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's his level of holiness. Bilam is purely a fabrication. It's a facade. It's not the real thing. Again, we have to explain, but why? So why was he endowed with prophecy? He was everything which had no relevance to God. How does God associate with something which is so impure? We'll discuss it. Now, there's a Gemara. The Gemara tells us about the Basra. Now, in Hebrew, the word cheshbon means computation. That's what it means. So the Gemara quotes the verse, "My dichsiv." What does it say in the Torah? Al kein yomru hamoshlim. Let the rulers say, hamoshlim ela moshlim biyitzram. Moshlim is the one who take control of their inclinations. Ezel giber hakovish yitzro. Who is the strong one, the powerful one, the one who suppresses, who conquers his inclination? Who are the moshlim? Ela moshlim biyitzram. People who they dominate their inclination. Bo cheshbon. The verse. Bo v'nechshav cheshbon shalom. Let's make the ultimate level of calculation. The whole world is dependent on this computation. Whether the world stands or falls. What is the formula to make the ultimate computation? Hefsid mitzvah keneged schora. The cost of a mitzvah versus its true value. Give you an example. In America, you have free education. You have private education. You have Torah education. A Torah education is very costly. So it's hefsid mitzvah. It puts a tremendous dent in my income. And you can't even take it off as a deduction. It's a very significant percentage of my income. But you understand. But if you want to understand what the end result is, the end product, hefsid keneged schora. You raise a family as God wants them to be raised, with Torah perspective, Torah values, to live as true Torah Jews. That's our mitzvah. So you have to evaluate the cost versus the end result. Lahavdil. Person makes a $100,000 investment, he has minimally $10 billion return. But you realize it's a lot of money. But you have to be a fool. And guaranteed. That's what we're talking about. This is one in a history investment. Who ever heard of such returns? Impossible. This is unlimited return. Another person says, Schar aveiro keneged hefsedo. A moment's pleasure. Person transgresses. Let it be Shabbos, Chas v'Sholom, other areas of transgression. But what about, but I'm not free to do it as I want on Saturday. I want to go out to the golf green. I want to go wherever I want to go. But you know what the cost factor is? Person says, somebody convinced, but if you rob a bank and you have all that money, have you ever been in possession of that kind of money? But you realize you're going to be caught. And you're going to be incarcerated for the rest of your life in solitary confinement. So before you cross that line, understand what the cost factor is. The moment You're deluded. You're deluding yourself. But there's a hefsid. The cost, the pleasure versus what that cost. And if you understand that, you don't cross the line. This is cheshbonu shalolam. Al kein yomer ha-moshlim. Let the dominators, the rulers, who rule their inclination, they must make, and this is the cheshbonu shalolam. This is the ultimate computation. The world stands and falls on this computation. Hefsid mitzvah keneged schora. The cost of the mitzvah versus what the end result is. The fruits you're going to reap. And the benefit of the Aveira versus what it's going to cost, which is untold destruction. That's what it is. Chofetz Chaim writes in one location that, in Europe, the people were literally destitute. And because they were so poor, very often there was a question, feeding your children or paying for a malamed. The few kopecks that you'd have to pay for the teacher to teach your son just simply how to read Hebrew, or just basic elementary understanding of Judaism, it was a question, and people couldn't afford it. But people did have some money. So Chofetz Chaim writes that if a person provides the means for a child to be educated and raised as an observant Jew, Chofetz Chaim writes that all the generations till the end of time that will be observant, and all the mitzvahs in the Torah will be studied as a result of this man's providing the means for the Torah education. All the mitzvahs, all the Torah will accrue to the initial person who made all that possible. You know what this is? You know what kind of return this is? You can have tens of thousands of descendants because that initial pittance versus the return. You're the beneficiary of everything. Hefsid mitzvah. Keneged schora. Cost. But you know what the end of the day is? The end of the day is unlimited. Our Shiva Zechat Tzadok Livrocha once said at a Pidyon Haben, the story goes back 45 years ago, and this person, so there's a dialogue, when a person redeems his firstborn, there's a dialogue between the father of the child and the Kohen. And this is what the Kohen asks the father, and the father responds. He has to give 5 silver coins to the Kohen. So the Kohen asks the father, what would you prefer? Would you prefer to give me your child, or would you prefer the 5 coins? To retain the 5 coins? Father says, I prefer to give you the 5 coins. I want my child. And this dialogue was back and forth. So Shiva Zechron Livrocha asked the question, who in his right mind would give away his child for 5 silver coins? Would you want to give up your child for 5 coins? Or would you prefer to pay the 5 coins? Father says, no, of course, I want to pay the 5 coins. It seems to be an absurd conversation. So he explained, it's purely symbolic. What do you value? Do you value your child, or do you value the material? To raise a child properly as a Jew is a very significant cost factor. Do you prefer his spirituality, or do you emphasize the material, his physicality? If you value his physicality, then you won't give me the 5 coins. 5 coins only represent the material. But if you value who your child is meant to be, to address his potential, Father says, I want to give the money. I want to give you the 5 coins. Nothing will interfere with his spiritual development. That's the understanding. This is hefsid mitzvah keneged schora. This is the cost factor of a mitzvah versus what the profits you're going to reap at the end of the day, which is unlimited, infinite, relatively speaking. So I asked the question. Seems to be, it's a play on words. The city that was conquered by Sichon was Heshbon. That was his capital city. Al Kein Yomru HaMoshlim. Rulers means the rulers, kings. Understand what happened in Heshbon. How Sichon, the giant, conquered Heshbon originally, which was Moabite territory. So we say Moshlim doesn't only mean rulers, but it also means the person who dominates his evil inclination. Heshbon is not only the name of a city, but it also means computation. So what do we have a play on words here? What exactly are we saying over here? According to our explanation, there's an expression in the Midrash, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Mesabiv Mesibos. God is the cause of all causalities. why do things evolve and manifest themselves the way they do? Everything takes a certain route in each person's life because that's what's meant to happen regarding that person addressing his potential. Sometimes you have a reversal. So you say, as we bless Hashem for the good, we bless Him even for the bad. Because in the essence, if you understand the background, why it's happening, it's in your best interest. It depends how you process it. And it's opportunity. That's what it is. But who understands that? You don't understand. Only God knows. Now, what happened in Cheshbon? What? It was a territory that was originally Moabite territory. But it has to be transferred to the Jews. Because that's Ever Yardei. But if that's the case, we have a problem. Because God said to us, you cannot take Moabite territory. So what does God do? Sichon, the king of the Amori, he has an interest in that territory. He's going to capture it. Once he captures it, it's been purged because it's been divorced from Moab, the Moabites. Now it can be transferred. Well, it seemed to be because he wanted it. No. He only had the interest because ultimately it had to arrive by the Jews. Now let's talk about something else. What about Sichon? How did he conquer it? How did he capture it? With his unlimited might, relatively speaking. He couldn't. It's unheard of. His might is greater than Paro v'chelo. Paro and all his armies, the most advanced army in the world. Sichon was more powerful. Yet he had to commission Bilam to curse. Why? Why did God allow him to capture it based on his own might? The answer is because Bilam ultimately had to be destroyed, and it had to be revealed to the world who Bilam truly was. That he has no relevance to what Moshe was. So if you read it on a very superficial level, it seems to be things happen. No. Everything is an exact calculation. Everything is Cheshbon. So the Cheshbon, the city that's called Cheshbon, how did that manifest itself? How did it evolve? Unlimited calculations, God's computations, so the end result should come about as God wants it to come about. Al-Kain Yomra Moshlim. If you want to really study it well and understand what's going on, you approach it superficially, you understand nothing. You have to delve, you have to do the analysis. You have to do the background. You have to understand the ramifications. Where it began, where it ended. And ask the questions. And the questions are good questions. And if those questions are valid questions, so why did it happen? Why did it evolve differently than it could have evolved? Because that's Cheshbon Shel Olam. Because that's God's calculation. Because things had to happen that way for a specific reason. Identically, Al-Kain Yomus, you see nothing in life that we're confronted with, it's just coincidental. Everything has a reason. Every person's test in life is tailor-made to each individual. But where do we draw this from? What seems to be, it happened because it just happened that way. It's an event in history. There's no such thing as an event in history. Every event in history, it's not what we learn from history. It's not just learning a physical fact. Everything in existence is l'chvodi barosif. God created this existence for one purpose. Bishul Torah shnikras reishis, bishul Yisroel shnikras reishis. The objective, every aspect of this existence, every event, somehow it's linked to the spirituality, the spiritual objective of where we have to arrive when Mashiach comes. That's what the objective is. Try to figure it out. There's a way, there's a formula. You may not have all the answers, but there's a formula how to achieve that end result, the end objective. You should consider the cost of the mitzvah versus the reward of the mitzvah. Hefsed mitzvah keneged schoro, and schara veiro keneged hefsedo. And what is the value, the benefit of the aveira? What's the price you have to pay? Bilam said, "Give me bais molech chesed v'zov." I can't go against the word of God. As pompous, as egocentric, as much as he suffered from megalomania, this man, whatever it was, means nothing. At the end of the day, Horga b'chorev, he was killed with the sword. But the man lived like a depraved human being. commits bestiality with his donkey, beats his donkey. The Malach reveals himself, the angel, with a sword drawn to indicate to allude, this is going to be your end. Despite the fact you're coming with the power of the mouth, your end's going to be with the sword. That's where it's going to end. Now, explaining and understanding what this man was, what he merit prophecy. If you study the Rambam in Hilchos Yesodei HaTorah, the laws which pertain to the fundamentals of Torah, the qualifications of a prophet to be a prophet, the level of investment of mind, action, emotion has to be invested to the point that you never have a distraction from God's presence throughout your whole life. We speak about David. He always saw God before his eyes. Always. There was never a lapse. We're going beyond that. Besides being fully invested in spirituality. That's the qualification to become a prophet. There's never hesach hadas. There's never a lapse of focus. Bilam. What are we talking about? He's the one who actually was the advisor to Paro to enslave the Jewish people. The bondage. Every step of the way, he was the advisor. Now, Paretz Gidur Shalom, he breached the laws of modesty, moral behavior. The story of Balak, this was his initiative. A man of this ilk. How does he have relevance to prophecy? Why did Hashem endow him with this level of connection? Why? So Rashi cites the Midrash, which the Midrash asks the question. Vim Tomar, Mibnei ma hishra kodesh baruch hu shchinos al goy rosha. Why did a God allow that his divine presence should dwell on this Gentile who was evil? At least if he would have been a tzaddik. You have the Chasidim Olam, the devoutly righteous Gentile. This man was evil. So the nations of the world should not have a claim to justify the misbehavior throughout history, the errant behavior. If we would have had the direct connection, we would have returned to the good path. Hemed lehem Nevi'im, established prophets. So what did they do with this prophet? They pirtzu goder ha'olam. They breached the ultimate fence of the world. The fence of morality, they breached it. The story with Benos Moab, initially they all were controlled regarding illicit sexual relations. And he advised them, encouraged them, they should actually unabashedly, without any control, fully invest themselves in this area. So therefore they failed. Therefore, at the end of time, when Hashem is going to condemn them for whatever their behavior was, they have nothing to say. Hashem preempted them. So the obvious question is, if you would have given us prophet, we would have been better. You know, a person comes to lecture in university on honesty, morality, ethical behavior. A man who was nearly a candidate for the Nobel Prize in ethics and morals, Al Capone. He's going to be the lecturer. Could you imagine? The man known as one of the greatest gangsters in history, corrupt in every area of this area, of whatever the subject matter has to be. He's going to lecture on morality and ethical behavior. And a person who has to have a conscience and the concept of shame. It's a disgrace. What could they learn? What could you draw from this man? Maybe what not to be. But not what to be. Definitely not. You'd give him a prophet, Moshe Rabbeinu. Less than Moshe Rabbeinu. But at least if he's going in the direction of purity, of holiness. Prophet, a depraved, megalomaniac, self-centered, egocentric, pompous, he'll be the man, he's going to set you straight. How's this a response? Well, I gave you your chance. What kind of chance did you give us? You gave us no chance. So how do we understand Chazal? So if you take a look in the Midrash tells us, Moshe Rabbeinu, before he passes away, he says to Klal Yisrael, Hatsur Tomi Polo. The rock, his actions are perfect. Ki chol drochav mishpat. All his ways are just. Everything Hashem does, it's literally, it's exactly as it's supposed to be. It's within the context of fairness. It's equitable, and you get what you deserve. Kol drochav mishpat. Ki lo iniach kodesh baruch hu u'masol pischon pelos ad. God left no opening for the nations of the world at the end of time to say a word. He gave them every opportunity, treated them fairly. Lomar. Shatori chaktono. You kept us at arm's length. You distanced us. Lo nosatu lonu kamo shenosatu l'Yisrael ba'olam. You didn't treat us as you treated the Jewish people. If you would have treated us similarly, maybe we would have been a different type of people. That's what they get to say. Hashem says, Ma'osa Kodesh Baruch Hu. Shem shehemid malochim v'chachom neviim l'Yisrael. As God established kings, wise men, and prophets for the Jewish people, kachemid l'umas olam. Identically. These three areas, kings, wise men, and prophets, even for the non-Jews. V'nivtku malkeim v'yem chachmem shel Yisrael. Let's evaluate who are the kings of the Jews, who are the wise men of the Jews, who are the prophets of the Jews. Imalcheim v'yem chachmem shel olam. We're going to pit one against the other and see who are they, who are weak. Hemid Shlomo Melech al kol oretz. Shlomo Melech, the wisest man who ever lived, ruled the world supreme. V'chein osel Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian emperor, he ruled the world supreme. Shenemar. V'gam eschayas hasodeh dosati lo'ovdo. He ruled the world supreme to such a degree that he even dominated the animals of the field, of the jungle, the forest. It was not only over human beings. He had the ability to control every aspect of existence. This is Nebuchadnezzar's power. Zebora Beis Hamikdash. Shlomo Melech built the first Beis Hamikdash, first temple. And he said many praises of God and supplications to extol God in the world. This man came, he destroyed it. The Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the first Beis. The Cheret V'Gidei. Not only did he destroy, he blasphemed HaKadosh Baruch Hu. King, both same power. Who's the Jewish king? Who's the Gentile king? I will rise to the heights of existence. I am God. I am the equivalent of the power in heaven. This is this pompous person. Nosle David Osher. David was given great wealth. David HaMelech. What did he do with the wealth? Lokach habayis lishmo. He purchased the location for the building of the Beis Hamikdash. That's where he put the wealth. Nosed lahomen Osher. The wealthiest common who ever lived in existence was Haman HaRasha. Lokach hu mishlem l'tivcha. He was willing to pay whatever it cost to take a nation to its slaughter. As he said, he gave 10,000 talents of silver to seal the fate of the Jews. Lahashmid l'arog alabid. Minar vad zokein tafen noshim. Nailit Evdi shouldn't be a surviving Jew. The distinction the Jews had, the nations will have the same distinction. Hemid Moshe Yisrael. Moshe was the leader of the Klal Yisrael. He had an open communication with God whenever he wanted. Hemid Lem Bilam. Also, God, he was able to speak to God. God was always available to him. Look at the difference between the prophets of the Jews and the prophets of the nations. The prophets of the Jews, they even forewarned the nations of the world they shouldn't transgress. The prophet of the Jews is even for the nations of the world. They create breaches to destroy humanity. The Jewish prophet has unlimited mercy, the attribute of mercy. Besides verses, they display the greatest level of cruelty. Bilam wanted to uproot an innocent nation for no reason. Therefore, the portion of Bilam has to be recorded in the Torah. Lodia, to inform us. Why did he remove it from them? Why? Because I gave him something which is infinitely precious and valuable. And how did he want to utilize it? To uproot an innocent nation, I withdraw that power. It's interesting. So we're not only speaking about prophecy, we're speaking about rulership, we're speaking about wealth. Now, but again, Bilam was an evil person. If you would have given us a motion, what is leadership determined by? It's what you deserve it of. The leader is only a reflection of who you really are. You have a prophet, speaks to God continuously. Why do you follow him? It's a phenomenal idea. A person who truly yearns and craves impurity and depraved behavior, God will give you that leader to lead you down that route. I'll give you wealth. What do you do with the wealth? When Haman sealed the fate of the Jews, and he paid 10,000 talents of silver, the Jews realized they have no route of escape. Every Gentile was ready to slaughter every Jew. What do you mean? The man may be evil. We're not evil. So what does Haman represent? The intention of every person. So the leadership is only a reflection of the essence of what the people are. I give wealth to David. What does he do? He invested to consecrate God's name, to purchase the location of the Beis HaMikdash. Osli Mikdash U'Shechanti B'Socham. What is that a reflection of? What is the Jew? Where does the Jew stand? We want to extol Hashem. We want to have a location to be able to pray and bring sacrifices to him, to acknowledge him. The nations of the world, they have no relevance to this. So what do they do with that money? They go to purchase the fate of the Jew, to destroy the Jew. The king, what does he do? Shlomo builds the Beis HaMikdash, sings the praises of God's supplications. Nebuchadnezzar, he destroys it and blasphemes God. The antithesis. Where does the world stand? We would have been better. No. If you would have been better, you would have had a different leader. You would have invested your money differently. How do you live your lives? So again, it's literally, as we always say, we always speak about the Pnei Ha'am, the face of the people. The Einei Ha'am, what is that? Ponim, I always say, it's not my own word. Ponim means face. It's Pinim. The face always reflects what's inside the person. The leadership, which is the Pnei Ha'am, which is the face, that reflects what the essence of the people are. There's a famous word from the Sofer. The Gemara tells us, Shmuel HaNavi, Samuel the prophet, he was the equivalent of Moshe and Aaron. It's based on the pasuk, on the verse. It says, Yiftoch, which we just read about in last week's Haftorah, he defeated the Ammonites. Because they came with a claim, whatever it is, Yiftoch. It says, Yiftach b'doro k'Shmuel b'doro. Yiftach in his generation was the equivalent of Shmuel in his generation. I mean, how do you compare the two? But factually, Shmuel's generation had Shmuel, Samuel the prophet. Yiftach's generation had Yiftach. So why did generation of Yiftach have Yiftach, and Shmuel HaNavi, his generation, had his leadership? The answer is, the leadership always reflects what the generation is. Because the generation of Yiftach was less worthy than Shmuel's generation, the leadership was Yiftach. So Yiftach b'doro k'Shmuel b'doro. Every generation gets the leadership what it deserves. Because that always reflects where you're at. That's the word from the Chazal. And that's exactly what Chazal say. You're saying, but why don't you give us a prophet? We should have that communication. We'll see what you do with it. You have to, we want a Moshe. What do you mean you want a Moshe? What relevance do you have? What Moshe represents? You have no interest in God. Listen, at Sinai, God himself offered you the Torah. What did you say? It's not our cup of tea. It's not our way of life. We have different interests. We can't be distracted. Okay? Bilam told you at time of Kabbalah what was going on. The world was quaking. As long as they felt safe, we have no interest. You see, the world cannot contain God's presence. How do you have not an interest? Not interested. As long as our safety is not in jeopardy, we do what we want. Okay, so if that's the case. You get a Bilam, you have a Haman, you have a Nebuchadnezzar. That's exactly what you have. So again, the leadership, or whoever the leaders are, financial leaders, monarchs, whoever they may be, that tells you exactly where the world stands. Klal Yisrael, that we have Chachomim, Nevi'im, and we have Zakanim, whatever, that tells us where we stand. Now, when we speak about Jews, what is the core of Judaism? Our spirituality, Torah mitzvahs. Who are our leaders? When we speak of true leaders, it's the Gedolei Yisrael. It's the Torah leaders. That's the leaders. That you have, the Secretary of the Treasury, happens to be so-called an Orthodox Jew. You know what that means? It means nothing. It means you'll have a signature on American currency. It begins to end there. He's a detriment to Klal Yisrael. A detriment. That's leadership. That has nothing to do with us. He happens to be a Jew. He's a position of leadership. What does his leadership have to do with us? Where's he leading us? He's leading us nowhere. Leadership is Torah leadership. And Baruch Hashem. So that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allows us to have Torah leaders, and what we call Das Torah, that's a confirmation that the core and our essence, that's our interest. And because it is our interest, because of that, we will merit, with Hashem's help, the Korov of B'Meiro, the coming of Mashiach.